back to Making Food Monday. This week, I'm gonna revisit the Alfredo that I made before, but this time we're gonna make it completely different. This week, we're gonna make skinny chicken Alfredo. For today's recipe, we are going to need salt, pepper, basil, parsley, onion powder, chicken bouillon powder. We've got avocado oil and of course pasta. I'm gonna use, instead of heavy cream, we're just gonna use 1% milk. I've got Parmesan and Asiago cheese. You can just use Parmesan if you prefer. I've got some garlic, I've got cornstarch to thicken it all up, and I've got some pre-cooked chicken. This is just some roasted chicken I got from my pressure cooker before, and that is all we're gonna need for our recipe today, guys. This recipe that I'm using has no butter, has no heavy cream. It's actually much lower in fat than the Alfredo that Daddy generally makes. I have been assured by my mom that this recipe is the way to go because it tastes every bit as good as Dad's famous Alfredo, and if you guys know me, you know that's my favorite. So we're gonna test this one out and see if it actually needs all that heavy cream and butter and heavy fatty food, or if it'll be okay in the skinny version. So this one's an experiment, you guys. I'm anxious to see how this one turns out. The first thing going into my pot today is my avocado oil. I'm gonna use 2 to 3 teaspoons of avocado oil. But I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it and toss a little bit in the bottom, just like that. Now I'm gonna drop down here to my sear roast function and get that hot. Once we get our pot nice and hot, we're gonna add 3 teaspoons of garlic. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Then we're gonna let our garlic get nice and fragrant in this hot oil for just a few seconds. And then we're gonna add 5 cups of water. There's 4 and 5 cups of water. And since I almost never add water without also adding my chicken bouillon flavoring to make it nice and flavorful, we're also gonna add 5 teaspoons of chicken bouillon powder. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, and 5. Now the reason I always add teaspoons at a time of my chicken bouillon powder is because the number of cups of water that I use always correlates to the number of teaspoons of chicken bouillon powder that I want to use. So it's just easier for me to keep track if I count the number of cups of water and the number of teaspoons of chicken bouillon powder that I put in there. So I'm just gonna stir that for a second, make sure that my chicken bouillon powder is dissolved in my water. And then I'm gonna add 1 pound of pasta. I happen to be using rigatoni. Really, you can use whatever you like. That doesn't make that much difference. Officially, you're supposed to use fettuccine because it's fettuccine Alfredo. I don't really care so much about that. If you use fettuccine pasta though, you might wanna break your noodles in half just so they fit better in your pot. And straight into my pot, all the pasta goes. I do wanna be careful though that I get all of the pasta into the water. We don't want any pasta sticking up out of our liquid because then it'll stay chewy and it won't cook properly. So make sure we get all of our pasta to the bottom of the pot. Now my next step is completely optional. I'm going to add some pre-cooked chicken to the top of my pot. This was a whole chicken that I roasted in my pressure cooker, and then I separated the bones and I put it back in the freezer for use at a later time. So this is pre-cooked, pre-roasted chicken. This is 2 to 3 pounds, I would say, of pre-cooked chicken. And that's it, guys. Now we're ready to seal up our pot. Now I'm gonna come down here to my chicken function because that's my high pressure. I'm gonna bring the time cook down to just 5 minutes. Now while our pasta cooks, we're gonna go ahead and mix up our sauce. The first thing I'm gonna use is 2 cups of milk. There's 1 cup. And 2 cups. I'm using 1% milk. You could also use skim milk if that's what you have or you prefer it. Then I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of onion powder. 1 teaspoon of onion powder. 1 teaspoon of parsley flakes. 1 teaspoon of parsley flakes. 1 teaspoon of basil. 1 teaspoon of basil. Half a teaspoon of pepper. Half a teaspoon of pepper. And half a teaspoon of salt. Half a teaspoon of salt. And then I'll go ahead and mix all of those flavors together. And the last thing I need to add is about 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and 4 tablespoons. Then I'm gonna mix my cornstarch slurry so that my cornstarch isn't just thick and globby on the bottom, because it tends to do that. So we gotta make sure it dissolves in our milk. Okay guys, my time has expired and it's time to let my pressure out. Now I've let it come down for about 6 minutes naturally. I'm just gonna let the rest of the pressure out. There we go. Now I'm gonna open it up. Then I'll gently mix the pasta. Mix the chicken in. Once I get my pasta and my chicken mixed together and all of my pasta seems to be broken apart and none of it's kind of stuck together in clumps, then I'm gonna give my cornstarch slurry one last mix to make sure that my cornstarch did not settle on the bottom. And then I'm gonna add my cornstarch slurry right to the pot. And I'm gonna mix that. And then I'm gonna add my bag of Parmesan cheese. That's about 2 cups of cheese. And I'll add that right to the pot. And of course we're gonna mix that in so it can melt. I'm also gonna add my Asiago cheese. I've got about 1/4 cup left in this container. I'm just gonna dump the rest of that in there. Now I'm just gonna let the pot stand for a minute, and as you can see, the cheese is already pretty well melted and the sauce is pretty thick. So that's it, guys. That's all we needed to do. And there we have it, guys, Skinny Chicken Alfredo. It looks and smells pretty close to the real thing. I don't know. It's not quite as creamy as Dad's, but we'll see if it tastes just as good. Okay, Jax, I've got it ready and it's plated. Now we need our
Guinea pig.
Do it.
Guinea pig! Hungry! Hungry!
Who thinks it smells awesome? Nobody wants to taste it today though, huh? I think we should start with the Dad.
I'm suspicious of this thing just because
Dad's known for his Alfredo. Dad needs to go first. See if he's offended.
See if this is a direct competition. It smells really good. It's actually a very good alternative. I like mine better. I don't know. I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. It's good. I'm trying to compare this one to my chicken Alfredo. This one has a lot of the chicken flavor, I think. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's good, but mine is better.
I kind of expected that. All right, who else wants to see if Dad's is better? I feel bad for Jordan. Okay, Jordan, you can go.
Thank you.
Look at those eyeballs.
This could do maybe a little salt.
Okay.
I feel like Dad's Alfredo and this Alfredo are in 2 different worlds.
So 2 totally different things.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you like this one?
Oh yeah, this is really good. This is a good alternative.
Nice. So how many thumbs are you gonna give that, Jordan? Yeah? Thanks, man. Now who should I pick?
The one eating the plate?
I think we're gonna go with this one. Mia, it's all you.
Thanks.
You wanna taste the food on the plate, or are you just gonna eat the plate?
I'll eat the food.
Thanks. It's a big bite. Sure about that one?
We'll take a bite of the bite.
What do you think? Yeah? You like it? How does it compare to Daddy's?
This one, Daddy's.
So Daddy's is better, but this one's really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Mia.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Is it Jackson's turn? Okay. Because you're the old one. Do you like that? What do you think is better? This one or Daddy's?
This one. Daddy's way better.
So Daddy's is way better. Is this one really good though?
Because Daddy's has way more cheese.
That's true. It's a lot creamier, huh? It looks a lot creamier. So is this one really, really good though?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, man.
Okay guys, my final thoughts. I think this recipe is super tasty, but it'll never compare to Dad's chicken Alfredo. However, if you're looking for a lower fat Alfredo, this one is really good. The one thing that I do think maybe I shouldn't have done is add the chicken that I added because it was already cooked in its own herbs and spices, which kind of lent that flavor to the noodles when I cooked it. It tasted more like a chicken casserole. But this was a really good recipe. There's no reason to say, oh, this one didn't work, because it absolutely did work. It just didn't taste quite as good as Dad's chicken Alfredo. But I will be making this again because it does get 2 thumbs up from me.
Guys, Jackson fell asleep already and Mia is halfway there because we forgot to say goodnight. What did you think of dinner tonight? What did you think of the skinny Alfredo?
That would be pretty good. You know what I think it needs a little bit of?
What?
I think it needs just a little heavy cream and butter.
That would make it less skinny.
Yes.
I thought Daddy's version is tastier, creamier, richer, thicker, yummier. But this one I thought was really, really good. Definitely 2 thumbs up for me. And it's definitely something that I'll make again because it was super easy and fast and tasty. But for now, I guess it's just time for me to put my Smartypants to bed. So,
If you like this video, thumbs up. If you want to make this channel strong, share it with your friends. And now, good night, YouTube. See you tomato. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe now. Touch it. Poof. The chicken Alfredo was really yummy.